Till date, I really still do not remember that they used to sell art. I keep forgetting. Do you, and you'll find your own audience. But the challenge is the places where you'll find the people who will take it to your audience are very limited in this environment.
Today, I have with me Seidougha, aka Mr. Danfo. Mr. Danfo is a Lagos-based multidisciplinary artist working across painting, sculpture, and installation. His work draws on local forms, contemporary design, and popular culture. He has had shows in Lagos, Geneva, Johannesburg, Mexico, and beyond. His work has been featured in publications and is held in private collections all over the world. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Danfo. Let's jump right into it. What do you consider your first big break as an artist, and how did it come about?
My first break was my 2022 solo exhibition at Alliance Française Lagos. Yeah, it was the very first solo, and it was the first time I would have a full scale to tell my story holistically in a space, and it kind of exposed me to so many people in the industry. I think quite some people maybe have heard about me or seen my work before. Many haven't, but I kind of realized after that exhibition, curators or galleries or so many people, like when they eventually, oh, you had Mr. Danfo, wow, amazing work, I love your work. Like since then till now, I saw the difference in life and in practice, and art started paying from that show, very importantly to mention. So that was it. Yeah, how the opportunity came. Okay, yearly, Alliance does announce like call for projects, for new projects. That is like the basic. Everybody would like have to go through that process. Even if Alliance wants you to do something, you have to go through like submitting your idea. So you being in the community and even knowing is important to start with. So I was actively like attending all their events, and I was a familiar name and a familiar face, and my work is known by the people that might eventually be reviewing it. You get, so because if the people are already familiar with you and your work, you know, it's easier like to consider it when they are on the panel deciding who to pick, who not to pick.
It's already some kind of positive bias for your work.
Yes, of course.
Before the reviewing, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that is one thing we don't popularly talk about, but it plays a whole lot of role in practice and in the industry. Like, because if, for instance, in a panel of 5 people, 3 people have been familiar with your stuff already, you know, it gives them a little bit of excitement seeing your application among every other. And yeah, so maybe that also is one of those things. So, but then the most important thing is to do the good work, and your work is good enough to speak for itself. And yeah, because if you do not have the work, it's also like there's no way they can help you, even if there's opportunity to do so.
Hearing that community is very important. Just be out there networking and make sure that you're visible, apart from having really good work.
Yeah, very, 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 very.
On a lighter note, how did you get the name Mr. Danfo? Was that a deliberate choice on your part? I know some of your early works explored Danfos, and that motif still runs through your work today, but how did that name come about?
So the name came from my work and from the stories I was telling with my Danfo series. I'm trying to build a brand, and I have to look for a way to have a brand that will stick and people will remember really fast, and also that speaks to the culture I care about or I talk about, and that's like the urban culture of Lagos. So even the Mr. Danfo evolved from Danfo artist to Mr. Danfo. So the Mr. Danfo fully came to life January 2022. It's been doing pretty good, yeah, but the Mr. Danfo too is a lot of work because there are many Danfo stuff here and there, and you wouldn't want to be confused for somebody else or for something else. So it means now the challenge of me is putting out more publicity. So when people search Mr. Danfo is strong enough in the search engine.
It makes me think about how, as an artist, you have some of the challenges that companies face in terms of branding. Like you want to optimize yourself for search engines, so SEO and all these other things, right? There's also branding that you want to stand out. You want to put out the kind of content that will, like, apart from just creating proper artistic works, now you need to start to think about content that will help people find you and help you stand out amongst all the seas of Danfo concepts.
Yeah, even my website, we have to be deliberate about like the cache phrase we are using to upload the site, so that when people are searching for XYZ, you could pop up as well. So it's some real work too.
The other question I had that I've been thinking about in relation to artists generally is that when you were starting out as an artist, what were the challenges you faced? Like, what were some of the big challenges, and what does that look like versus now? Like, what are challenges you're facing? Have you noticed the difference in those challenges? So there's like a couple parts to that question. The challenges you faced as a starting artist, now that I'm sure you no longer think of yourself as a starting artist. What are challenges you're facing and how do they relate?
Well, I think the outset of my practice, a little bit background into it would be like, I wasn't sure what the industry holds for me. I wasn't sure what I was going to be doing. And I wasn't also 100% sure if I'll be in this arts phase the way I am. So I was making the arts, not because of I studied arts in school, but because of I wanted to tell a story that mattered, and I felt like nobody was actually talking about this, and this also mattered to me because it sort of like connected to me personally. So for that reason, I was doing it to satisfy me and also to like have something I'm documenting, which is my own contribution to the community. And then came the phase after which I felt like people should also see it. And that is the answer to your question. That phase meant that I needed to be visible to people. I needed to share this work with people. And it was really difficult, like really getting the work shown to people or going public. I think basically going public, getting a gallery or an exhibition in a professional gallery, it was really some real work to do. And when I've heard talks like how my work wasn't looking like what they were ready to show, or they were tagging it a certain way. Either it wasn't looking like a painting, or they think a painting should be this way. So it was a bit challenging. So meeting the gallery owners and meeting people who wanted to dictate what you should do or how you should do it or how you should present it. And I wasn't also really ready to do what they wanted because I didn't see why I want to do that. But maybe I also did not 100% understand. It was mostly for buying and selling. I didn't understand that fully. I felt like it was about like doing what mattered and then putting it out, and it will also matter to some other people. But should you not have platform to put it out, even when you create that thing that matters, it might just be hidden there in your wardrobe as much as it matters, because
so you're talking about
a challenge.
Commercial consideration now. So like if you are creating work, even no matter how this is what I should do, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm passionate about, this is the subject matter I want to speak about, you also need to think about the commercial angle to it. Will this sell?
Yeah, it's still like, for me till date, I really still do not remember that they used to sell art when I'm making art. I keep forgetting. Even if I know I might get it sold eventually, it's rarely like the first thing I think about. I'm not saying artists should not think about it, but I am not a pro in that area of art practice. I'm a pro in the making. At that initial time, I think that probably also led to all the challenges of not getting a space, and not that there are no institutions or galleries that are not interested in that kind of work. There are a lot of them all around the world. But in where I am living, it is majorly a commercial gallery-centered state, which is Lagos. So the hub here is mostly run by mostly commercial spaces. So it is now that I'm able to start getting opportunities into the other spaces that would be able to pay you an artist fee that could also be a reasonable amount. Should you not sell the work, they know you are getting money for the work you are doing with them. In the arts practice, there are like different areas one can actually find himself. You can just go to like the 100% decorative and commercial, or you can go to like the very conceptual, institutional kind of practice. So you can choose to also play in between. So as at that point, I couldn't like define clearly this part, there's a part like this, there's a part like that. But sincerely speaking, there are those parts. And now I am channeling my energy towards the part that purely aligns with my own practice. So I save myself the stress of trying to really focus. And I also now know that some of my works will do better in this kind of place. Others will do better in other kind of institutions. So I think that was like a very big challenge because there was no defined way of practice. However, those works of that time were more commercial than what I'm doing now. But the commercial space here, we're not used to, or aren't still used to those kind of works. So yeah, that was a bit of a challenge. So the breakthrough came when I sold a few pieces through maybe first from a close contact of somebody I knew who bought them. And later I sold Sapele Spirits. So it kind of motivated me because that was like a conceptual installation. It was just like street drinks I collected and put together. And I felt that was my conviction as a sculptor, even if many people...
You sold that?
Yes.
So just for people listening, do you mind describing what that work is so that people understand how incredulous it seems to me that somebody collected that work? But this is me not also talking about the conceptual part because it's a very highly conceptual work and has like things that it's teaching, right? But like, please talk about the work just a little bit.
Yeah, the work was a collection of street drinks. I've been collecting like street drinks till date. I'm still collecting street drinks you mostly find them in the bus stop. So in the bus stops already where these street drinks are sold should be a conversation we should be talking about why there, because it means that the market is around there and the people who are mostly there are drivers or agberos. And for the most of the drivers, we entrust our lives to them in Lagos because vast majority of Lagosians use the Danfo buses. So that is like a piece that is already like questioning the things that are being sold in specific geographical area. And also the titles or the names of the drinks were quite intriguing to me. So it's also the question of like the psychology of the consumers and what people buy and what sells for this demography of people. And lastly, nobody says or nobody's fighting this collection or nobody's like having problem with it because nobody has come to say they should stop selling this thing anywhere. So it means that we collectively have agreed that this is part of our contemporary life or it's a subculture that we are okay with. So at that initial stage, all of what that meant to me was that do you and you'll find your own audience. But the challenge is the places where you find the people who will take it to your audience are very limited in this environment I am. And it does seem like it is still same way till date because I still pitch my ideas to spaces and I don't know, but they are still digesting it.
Yeah, I mean, you create very thoughtful work. It reflects our current consciousness as a people in Lagos. It shows popular culture and all of that. So I think that, yeah, there will be galleries that have to appreciate that, right? Everybody can't just be all about commercial and what looks like what they're already used to. I wanted to ask about money. Like, I know that a lot of money conversations don't happen around the arts, right? All of those happen in the background. People don't know about it, and I feel like a lot of emerging artists don't know. Like they want this information, they need this information, but except they are close to somebody that is giving them all of this, they don't know. So I wanted to talk about money. What are some of your biggest money challenges as an artist, and what are some of the best money decisions you've made?
I don't know who has this quote that says that you remember you're an artist until when you never Remember you're an artisan to where rent is due or something like that. There's a quote.
That's a good one.
When your rent is due, then you you will know if you're an artist or not. Yeah, or it kind of reminds you that, man. Yeah, it's something that should be talked about because you rarely find people talk about money. Like even me, I've made a lot of funny mistakes. I didn't know how to price my work. I'd been in an exhibition that the older artists didn't even call my attention or discuss with me and ask me why my price was at that way. And then maybe they could have advised me or helped me like reposition my price compared to what everybody was selling. It was later I saw that my price was the cheapest. And experience, the first experience to take from that is that I needed to have consulted people to know like how to price me. But I also needed to have sold things to know my price because it's until you sell interest. So it's difficult, but I also think artists should know that people sell works around certain ranges. So they can have an idea, mostly the young artists. A lot of times, maybe I'm the only one that made that mistake because I made the mistake twice. So
I don't think you're the only one. I've heard artists a lot of times talk about not being able to price their works very well, not knowing exactly which price points or price tags to attach to their work. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think consulting is like the first way to get that done if you want to get it right. Having like older people who are able to like talk to you. Like today now, I wouldn't know like how to even do a limited edition in my work if I didn't have an older artist who discussed that with me.
I've made two decisions that I know they've been fruitful. And the first one was when I made my major sales, or the exhibition I made my major sales, I invested my money into something else. And so I was getting like continuous return from the business. So I was sure every month something was coming in that was substantial. And then I repeated it again. And so it is even like late last year, I started realizing that, damn, so this, I didn't know that like there was I had some kind of stability because I had that money. I just felt like it was just a decision, and when you have money, it's just good to like put money somewhere else, you get. So that was why I did it. And now I am already on that path again to trying to invest. And this year I want to buy some chairs as well. Yeah, so that is the kind of decision any artist should be thinking of making. Should you make enough money from sales of artwork? If you do not have business idea, then look for somebody you can give to, used to do business, where you can be getting like steady return, either weekly, monthly, or periodically, that you know like the money is working for you. Yeah, that's one advice, and that's me. I've done it, so I would encourage anybody to do the same. As one. Then secondly, I used to reinvest into my work. So for every major break I have made, for sales, for exhibition, I'll buy more materials, I'll create more works, I reinvest into my practice. I rented a bigger studio, like where I am, it's pretty like a big space right now, but I'm still aiming to go bigger. But like it is from the money I made from the arts that I'm putting back into my practice. So like I'm creating a brand image of myself that shows growth. Should attract more growth in itself, because your presentation, your packaging also like shows if you are worth investing into and if you are making progress. People always want to invest into people who are already growing. That is one. So those two decisions are very important to my career, and yeah, I think anybody who could do the same.
That's interesting. So it's really about like when you make money from your art, invest it in other things to get returns, because really art income is not typically stable, right? Like you don't expect to make big sales every month or every week. So yeah, I think that makes sense. And then also invest back in your practice, because that's where the big money is going to come from. And that's a pretty solid strategy. You have a manager, like, because like art, especially as you start to grow, the admin part, there's a lot of admin things to do, right? There's, for example, I talked about your website earlier. I know there's tons of admin things that you need to do. Maybe you can give us a few examples of some of those things too. But like, do you have a manager that helps with you with those? Is there a plan to have one if you don't already have one? And do you even feel like you need one?
I do not have a manager at the moment. I'd wished to have manager for years before now. I made moves to see if that was going to work. And so the most I have done for myself is to periodically get like younger people to assist me manage like some administrative stuff at the points where they are very pressing and needed. You know, the very first time I worked on like a comprehensive mailing list, even if I'm not actively using it right now, but I'd used it, and I even used it last year. And then I also have a few, there's a lot of admin stuff going on now. In this January, I have not painted any physical object or sculpted any physical object, but I have worked on several forms. I've written several documents. I'm writing, redesigning my proposal. I have had mails, or I'm exchanging mail with an institution I want to work with. So we are there's somebody, there are times that I've even responded to my mail too late, that I feel bad about it, that I wish I had somebody who was actually attending to this on my behalf. You know, they just need some basic information that I could have done. Then where my studio is, I have a secretary. I've had a secretary for over 1 year, standby. So there are points where certain things I am not going to do it because the secretary is just going to help me manage those things. But so for instance, I want to take track of expenses, or there are certain things I want to do now. I could just tell you to reach out to my secretary and it's done. Yeah, basically. So because I can't be handling all of those things now, but there's still need for very administrative hand in running the studio, which I do not have now, and I really look forward to having a manager sometime that would really help me run the admins, mostly in terms of the liaising and helping me find new grounds where I can break into or get to do things with, so it makes it easier, or following up for me on things that need to be followed up on.
So sort of like an agent too, like a manager or an agent.
Yeah.
Let's move back to art, being an artist. Now let's move away from the admin and money stuff. I know that to be an artist, observation is really key, right? And that's how some of your works that I've seen and experienced, that's how they came about. We're talking about the Sapele water, Sapele water projects. It's based on your observation of your environment. Also, talking about the Danfo project, it was also based on what you experience and how you observe Lagos. But Lagos is really moves fast, so many hundred things. I remember that I would take a bus to walk from Ojodubega to Yaba or something, and within that very short distance, a lot of things will happen. Sometimes I'll get home and not even remember that something very interesting happened in the morning, because even more interesting things have happened, right? So I just wonder how you slow down as an artist to observe, especially I want just how does that work?
It's how our brains are probably differently wired, or how the experiences we've had as individuals are reflecting in our lives. Your brain is probably wired a bit differently, and I've also been exposed to the streets from my childhood, and coming from a very tough background. So I have seen life really tough growing up. So I observe a lot, and it's a way of participating in itself, and observing and highlighting those parts of the society is what makes me an artist in this point, or at this point in time, because these things are really happening. Even if other people are not talking about them, I will talk about them because they also matter, and they are part of the conversation, or they are part of our lived experience of this time that is worth discussing. not everybody is really even paying attention. You know, Lagosians will say, no look within the right for motor. Maybe you enter motor, they go where you won't go. You get, so people do not really care what is written. For me, I care what is written on the vehicle, because sometimes they are sending some kind of cultural message, like contemporary cultural message or whatever you want to call it. It might be a quote, it might be a driver wishing for something. And these are like very similar to what my ancestors have done in the past, like sometimes praying or sending spells or wishing for something and expressing it visually, like we are done in the cave. So seeing like all those kind of iconographies in contemporary life in new form kind of interests me, because yeah, this is like the social fabric of Lagos. I think for artists, it should be our duty to actually really be sincere and tell the real story.
But
So capture exactly what is happening today, as opposed to the artists that are showing a different world entirely, like the music artists. That's what I mean.
Yeah. So it's just like a little bit of this and that. So I just feel I hold my children the responsibility. I hold your children the responsibility to tell these stories and to document these stories. So should they not be so much important to us now, maybe they might be more important to the future generation to come.
Where do you think your next big opportunity as an artist will come from?
It will come from an institutional museum collection, museum exhibition, or a biennial. Yeah, that is where the big thing is coming from next.
Do you think, is that already in the works, or is that is that you projecting?
Currently, I'm in a stage with an institution. We are on the project on the ground, so we are working on something. We've had a series of meetings, and it's in a second phase. And after the second phase, we have a third phase before execution. So, and I believe when one happens, others will follow. So, yep, that's the next big thing. And if that happens soon, as we wish, then we'll come back to this video. Yeah, but it's going to happen. It's going to happen because I've been putting so much work into like channeling my energy towards like the places that really matter to my work and the kind of work I'm creating. So I do not want to stress so much about like the commercial galleries, despite the fact that I am still approaching galleries that I want to show work with. But I also see that I have works that would also do very well like institutionally. So I'm also like putting in energy towards applying for things that will get me towards that direction, and also like approaching people who can give me information or who could also recommend me for possible opportunities in that sector of the art industry.
Awesome. All the best with that, Seidougha, Mr. Danfo. I will really look forward to seeing more of your works, more of your projects. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and for getting me to talk about my story, my work, and what I've learned over time, and sharing my little knowledge with the rest of the world. I really appreciate being here, and looking forward to sharing more knowledge with you guys.